What is going on, guys? It's your boy Void here, and today I brought out all the Androids. So I have like my intern Android, my quarantine intern Android, and then me as an Android, which is kind of cool. But the reason I brought all the Google stuff out is because today we're talking Google host matching. So I guess it's that time of the season. So if you are in Google host matching, you're gonna want to pay attention to these tips. Just a little disclaimer. I am not part of recruiting. I am not even a part of Google at this point in time. I've signed an offer to work at Google, but that does not guarantee that these tips are like going to get you a match. This is just my personal take on what you should do to maximize your chances and stuff that worked out for me. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, what if you just want a match? This is the type of person who they just want to work at Google. They don't really care what product. They don't really care what team. You just want a match. You want the grind to be over. You want to sign an offer with Google. So if this is the case, you're going to want to not put too many specific things on your intern project match questionnaire. So you're going to want to not say that you only want to work in I don't know, in the Boulder office, but what you definitely want to say is that you are willing to work anywhere, and that includes the headquarters, Mountain View. So Mountain View is going to be like probably 90% of interns, 90% of projects. So make sure that you put Mountain View as one of your preferred if you're just trying to get a match. Another thing that the form is going to ask you, it's going to ask you about your interests and your experience. So if you just want a match and you don't have a lot of experience, that's perfectly okay. Don't lie about your experiences. Just be honest about what you know, how many lines of code you've written in like certain languages, and that's fine. They don't expect you to be a coding wizard or some kind of genius no. You should put a good amount of interest, because guess what? If you put down AI and machine learning, you're the 10,000th candidate who has put down AI and machine learning. So make sure you vary your interests. I'm not saying that if you are interested in AI and machine learning, you shouldn't put that on your questionnaire. Definitely include that, but don't emphasize it so much to the point where it makes it seem like that's the only thing you want to work for. I would include as many interests as you are genuinely interested in, maybe even fields you haven't heard of. If you have no idea what concurrency is, maybe you list that as one of the things you're interested in. If you have no idea what human computer interaction is, maybe you list that as one of your interests. Do a quick Google search on it and see if it seems even somewhat interesting, because you should be open to trying new things out. It's an internship. It's not your full-time job. This is a great time for you to figure out what you are interested in doing, and it increases your chances of getting a match whenever you have a larger breadth of interests. Now, that's not to say check every interest off because you want to get broaden your chances. Don't do this. They know what you're doing. These people are smart. They want you to be matched with something that you are interested in, and they want, like, if I'm a host, I want an intern who wants to work on my product or wants to work with the technologies that I work with. So don't just check everything. If you check everything, it just does not come across well, and you're better off just checking what you're genuinely interested in. Now, you might be asking, what is the appropriate amount of interest to check? And that there isn't a set number that I know of, but I would say generally I like to keep it at like half of the interest possible, because then you're actually being selective. You're eliminating 50% of them, but you're also keeping half of your options available. So I think that's a very safe number, and that's what I like to go with if I'm trying to just get any match with a team. Now, another thing that the questionnaire mentions is it mentions like additional projects or like talking about some of your coding work, technical abilities, additional, whatever. So it's like just this big text box that tells you to just talk about whatever. Make sure that whatever you talk about, that you're passionate about it, because passion comes across, like whether you realize it or not. And if you're not passionate about something and you're talking about it, it's not going to come off as well as someone who is passionate. Also, you don't have to write a book. You don't have to go crazy with this, but also don't be as concise as one sentence. Like, give a little detail, but don't go overboard. Another thing that host matching, like Google tells you not to cold call or reach out to Google engineers and stuff over like LinkedIn. And that's because, well, there's a lot of people in the intern host matching phase, and they don't want their employees getting spammed with a bunch of interns trying to get a match. Now, I'm not going to tell you to not listen to this, but if you know somebody at the company, if you know somebody on a team that you like, definitely talk to them. Maybe they're not taking an intern, but maybe they know someone on their team taking an intern, or maybe they know someone that works like in a close team, something of the sort. So definitely, like, it's okay to reach out to people you know that you've talked to before, but I would not cold call or cold message on LinkedIn. They have no incentive to match with you if you just cold call them. But if you have some kind of connection with them, that's perfectly okay. So hopefully you have a better idea if you just want to match like what you should be doing to increase your chances of that. But now I want to talk a little bit about what if you want a specific location, like maybe you really don't like Mountain View, maybe you really don't want to work at headquarters, and you want a specific location, you want to live close to the family, anything like that. Well, here's the approach that I would take in this case. The first thing I would do is I would make sure that that's like on my preferences, like make sure I list my top locations there. If you only have one location you really want to work at, then make sure you list that off. If there are maybe 2 or 3, make sure you list that number of locations. They allow up to 3 locations to be listed, so make use of them. But if there really is only one Google location you would accept, that's okay too. Just make sure you indicate that that's your preferred location. Also, they say they also ask you what locations you're willing to work at, and if there really is only one, and your whole thing is I want this location, or I am not taking Google, put only that one as your willing to work location. Like, that's totally okay. I mean, that's your preference and that is your choice. If Google really wants you, they will match you with that location. It is difficult though, because there are sometimes headcount issues, or maybe teams are very specific in those locations, which kind of leads me into my next point. You should be aware, or at least generally aware, of what teams are in what locations, or at least the locations that you want to work at. For example, like Boulder, they have a lot of Drive, they have a lot of the G Suite products. Seattle, they have a lot of cloud teams. That's like their biggest thing in Seattle from what I've heard. So just make sure you're aware of this whenever you're applying. If you have no clue what teams are in that area, it's not too difficult to find out with a quick LinkedIn search. Just look up people who work at Google. Like, you can filter this in the search bar for people who work at Google in a certain location, and then click their profiles. You can find out what teams they're working on. So then you can find out what teams are in those locations. And honestly, I think that's one of the easiest ways to go about this. So make sure you're leveraging LinkedIn, and connect with me down below if you're interested. Also, if you're interested in like specific locations, tell your recruiter. Make sure you tell them something that could help you. They might ask you why, and if you have a legitimate reason other than like that city is cool, or you don't want to be in another city, then sometimes that'll help you out. Like, they are more accommodating if you are moving somewhere due to like family, or maybe a spouse, significant other. something like that. So it's a lot easier for them to accommodate whenever they know that it is for a good, justified reason. Getting a specific location can be tough because you really need a lot of things to align. You need them to have headcount in that location. You need a team there to like you, as well as need your skills. And you basically need like that location to reach out to you for a host match call before other ones do. So that makes it a little difficult to get the location you want. But again, if you fill out this form and let your recruiter know your location preferences, then they should be well aware of what you are wanting. Now, if you're not willing to turn down Google and you want a specific location, make sure you have backups. It can be really tough, especially for some of the smaller offices like Austin. It can be very difficult. Some of the larger offices might have more headcount. So let's say Seattle, Mountain View, those will probably have more headcount than, let's say, Austin or Boston. So make sure you take that into consideration whenever you're putting down your stuff. You can easily find out which Google offices are larger than others by doing a quick Google search on Google largest offices. Make sure you have those backups if you're not willing to turn down Google, and I wish you the best of luck in getting the location that you want. Either way, if you get a match, you're going to be working for Google, so you're in a good position either way, though I understand that some people don't want to work in the Bay, like me. That's basically all I had for like location specific stuff, but I did have some general tips that I really wanted to go over with you guys. So one of those things, this is going to apply to pretty much everyone, but this is called the guaranteed route. And the guaranteed route is a offer path basically that's only available to some candidates, and they don't usually just offer this to you. Sometimes you're going to have to ask for it. But basically what it is you sign your offer with Google prior to host matching. And what this offer says, basically it says that you are guaranteed to be matched with a team, but it doesn't make any promises as far as like locations or types of products. So it might not be great for people who are looking for a specific location, but if you just want an offer at all and you like want to make sure you just get a offer from Google, and you would take it regardless the team and location, and you are okay with Mountain View, this might be something that you want to ask your recruiter about. Typically, this is something that they would offer for people who have like other offer deadlines coming up, or maybe some really good experience at other Big 5 companies and stuff like that. So definitely make sure you look into this route. If you do take this route and you get a guaranteed offer path, they actually still take into consideration your preferences as far as locations. So for example, I actually took this route twice. And the first time, I didn't get my first choice preference, but I got my second. And my second was Boston. So, and then the second time, I got my first choice, which was Seattle. So it worked out for me. I'm not saying it will like guaranteed work out, but they're trying to make the best match for them as well as for you. So it's not like they're trying to stick you in the Bay Area, but that's just where they have the most number of projects available. And just to summarize some of the tips that I've mentioned throughout the video, don't write a book, don't write too little, don't write too much. You want to hit somewhere in the middle. And make sure you're writing about stuff that you're actually passionate about, because that comes off even if you don't realize it. Passion can get you a very far way, especially in this process. Be courteous when you're on the phone with potential hosts. If you're not getting a lot of calls, that's okay too. But if that continues for, let's say, maybe a month and a half, excluding like holiday heavy months, like right now, like is a little difficult because people are taking holidays. But if it takes about a month and a half, maybe revisit your questionnaire. Look at some of the tips in this video and try to revisit your questionnaire based off of that. Make sure all your grammar and stuff is right and all that good stuff. If you want more tips, I would encourage you to reach out to your recruiter, because they are the main, like, they know what they're doing. They do this a lot. and they're acting in your best interest, usually. The timeline for these can take a while. So I was mentioning that I did the guaranteed route twice. One of the times it took me about 5-6 months to match with a team. The other time it took me about 1-2 months. So it varies a lot. Just because you know people who are getting calls and like getting a lot of calls even, don't worry too much, because teams, product areas, and locations do things in waves whenever they're looking for an intern. So it might be that the location preferences you listed are not hiring yet, or they don't know if they're hiring an intern yet. So just be courteous, just be mindful of that, and try not to compare yourself to others too much, which can be really hard to do, but it's really not healthy for you. Last but not least, if you made it this far, like you made it past all your technical interviews, and you're going to be okay. Worst case scenario, you had the capabilities of making it past technical interviews with Google, who is frankly a fairly hard company to interview with. So if you're able to pass these interviews, you're going to be able to pass others. So don't sweat it if you don't get a match. Like, you're going to be okay regardless. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this video helped you out at all. If you have any questions specific about host matching, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.